coming from Mike Lombardi, former NFL GM Mike Lombardi. He went on the Pat McAfee show and said that the Rams tried pretty adamantly to try to trade away quarterback Matthew Stafford in this offseason, which is pretty big news. Matthew Stafford, 2 years ago, coming off of a Super Bowl win last year, dealing with injuries. The entire Rams team was dealing with injuries, however, though. So I think this is a pretty big bombshell report if it is true. So are you concerned that the Rams, if they're trying to get rid of Matt Stafford, won't have this comeback year per se?
I'm not that surprised that they shopped him. I mean, even in the Super Bowl year, he made some pretty bad mistakes out there on the field through interceptions when he shouldn't have. I think that he played well in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl game. Brought him back from being behind, and they wound up winning the game. So he has the ability and the clutch to perform, but he's old. He's getting up there, right? He's had some pretty bad injuries along the way. He was injured last year. Not to say that he won't continue to have injuries. The Rams have 2 more years left on his deal, right? So I'm not surprised that they shopped him. And do I think that the Rams are going to have a great year this upcoming year? I would say you can't be sure about that. I think there's chances are that they won't have a very good year. They had a poor year this past year. They lost the Whitfield there on Whitworth on the offensive line, and that killed them. And their offensive line was horrible. And on defense, Aaron Donald's not getting any younger, and he had an injury too. So I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't do that well this year. And I don't think that Stafford's going to be too happy to learn that behind the scenes they were shopping him. I don't think that does much for the morale for him, his morale, or maybe the morale in the locker room. I think he's probably well liked in the locker room.
I would definitely say he's well liked. So getting in their schedule, I do think they're going to have a pretty good comeback here, I would say. This is what their schedule looks like. Games against the Seahawks. You open at Seahawks, 49ers, Bengals, Colts, Eagles, Cardinals, Steelers, Cowboys, Packers, then a Week 10 bye, which is middle of the season. I think that's pretty good. Then you got the Seahawks, Cardinals, Browns, Ravens, Commanders, Saints, Giants, and 49ers. I'm going to give you a little pop quiz here. Let's see if you can get this little tidbit. Out of the first of 9 games, guess how many the Rams are favored in?
I would say they're probably favored in game 1. Game 4, that's 2.
So the Seahawks.
Game 6, that's 3. Game 7, that's 4. And game 9, that's 5. 5 games, I would say.
So you say 5 out of the first 9.
Yeah.
The Rams are currently favored in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to tell you, you're wrong.
Oh, yeah?
By a long shot.
Oh, yeah?
A single game.
They're only favored by 1?
Week 6 against the Cardinals.
Wow.
The Seahawks, they're minus...
They're not favored against the Colts? The Colts?
Nope. Not favored against the Colts at Colts. They are favored... I believe they're 3 or 6 point underdogs against... I think they're 6 point underdogs against the Seahawks in Week 1. So the odds makers are saying this Rams team is going to be pretty bad like they were last year. Except the weird thing is, though, they're all coming back. They're all healthy. Now, you did lose Bobby Wagner. That's a pretty big loss. You lost Jalen Ramsey. That's a pretty big loss. But you got the biggest playmaker, 2 big playmakers, your quarterback, and the guy who just put up over 1,900 yards in Cooper Kupp. He's coming back. Now, you also re-signed Sony Michel. You decided to bring him back as well. You have Cam Akers, that too. So Sean McVay's ideology here is going to be, let's go all in on offense. And that's sort of what he's going to do. And I think that very well could be, a pretty bad thing because you need at least some defense. And the only defense you really have is really Aaron Donald. He's probably the biggest playmaker on the Rams is Aaron Donald. So if that's your only defender, I have some pause to that. But this shouldn't be an absolutely wasted season. This shouldn't be an absolute abomination of a season to only be favored in one game out of your first half of the season, and it's against the Cardinals? Are you kidding me? That means Jordan Love is favored against you. Kenny Pickett's favored against you. I'll bring it up right now. Kenny Pickett's favored against you. Richardson or Gardner Minshew is favored against you. Geno Smith is favored against you. So the odds makers are saying this Rams team is probably going to be horrible. When it comes to the trading of Matt Stafford, the report that we got, that, the rumor was that Kirk Cousins is going to be a very, very attractive piece to both Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, now makes more sense, and I think can gain a lot of traction now. Because what I'm thinking is, if this is true, if they did try to shop Matt Stafford and were unsuccessful in this offseason, next offseason, if Kirk Cousins decides to become a free agent, Sean McVay may go all in getting Kirk Cousins. Would I think it'll be an upgrade? No. Honestly, I think it'll be a downgrade. Because Kirk Cousins is not good in the clutch. He's not a prime-time playmaker. If anything, he shrinks in the biggest moments. Kirk Cousins is a B- quarterback consistently. Matt Stafford is probably starting at a B+, and he definitely has his moments. So I'm saying that this is a crazy bombshell of a report to say that the Rams, 2 years coming out of winning a Super Bowl, and last year it made no sense that they would be any good because they were riddled with injuries all up and down. They had a bunch of offensive line moves. Their defense had injuries. You lost Cooper Kupp. You lost Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's still dealing with that elbow injury that most baseball players get, and the report is that it could be lingering throughout the rest of his career. So my guess would be that this is pretty, significant, at least the injuries, so that could be why they're moving off of him, and that also could be why he had no trade market. It could be that teams are concerned about his potential of getting hurt again, or this lingering elbow injury could come again, because last season, if we remember, the reason why he was out was because he was dealing with a spinal cord bruise back November 20th, which knocked him out for the rest of the season. He was also dealing with concussions. He had elbow injuries as well. So if that elbow injury is going to linger, and a lot of people are saying it should.
I mentioned the injuries.
Yeah, no, he was dealing with injuries all around. So the first time he could become an unrestricted free agent is 4 years from now. He's on a 4-year, $160 million contract extension with $130 million of it fully guaranteed.
Jay.
Do I think Sean McVay will be there at the end of that contract? Not based on him getting fired. I do think the Rams will keep on to him. I think he may leave because guess what? He was already really 1 foot out the door, apparently. Aaron Donald will be gone probably by this or next year. That's my guess. He already, 2 years ago before they won the Super Bowl, he wrote his retirement letter. He just didn't send it into the NFL. So he was already basically retired. He decided to come back last year. He was dealing with injuries. He said he's staying another year. I don't think this team is in rebuild mode, and I think it's a dumb idea to trade away Matt Stafford, who in large part has been a success for you because he won you a Super Bowl. In the first year he got there, you guys went to the Super Bowl and beat the Bengals. The high-flying, dominant Bengals with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Mixon. That the Bengals beat the Chiefs to get to you, and you beat them. So I think this would be a pretty dumb idea if the Rams decide, let's just get rid of him. I think it's honestly dumb that they would shop him, period, because he won you a Super Bowl.
Particularly when he's got that much left on his contract.
4 years left. He's got 4 years. And they decide, we're going to shop you to see, what we can get. We're going to try to trade you. Trade you to who? What team is going to try to go get Matt Stafford, who would
take on that contract?
I think, honestly, if the Giants didn't sign Daniel Jones to a 4-year 160, they should have. I mean, think about it. Matt Stafford, but here's the problem, though. Matt Stafford's an old quarterback. He's 35 years old. Daniel Jones is, 24,
He's had a lot
25?
of hits and a lot of injuries, too.
Yeah, well, right now, would I take right now Matt Stafford over Daniel Jones? 1,000%. Because I think as we're speaking right now, I think Matt Stafford is a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think he'll make the Hall of Fame. I think people and then the voters, the Hall of Fame voters, understand that basically going to Detroit is like a death sentence for your career. At least it was for a large part. It seems to be coming back from the ashes right now with Dan Campbell and Jared Goff and that dominating offense, phenomenal offensive line as well. But right now, would I take Matt Stafford to bring you more success in New York over Daniel Jones, even though he's 9 years younger than you? Yeah, I would. Because I guarantee you put Matt Stafford on that Giants team, I'd put them in the play. I would solidify them in the playoffs, regardless of the talent. Regardless of right now their weapons, or what some people think maybe are not phenomenal weapons. That's what I would do. Because guess what? Matt Stafford already dealt with absolute bums. It was at least statistics wise, for his career, I think he was largely successful.
But the team was terrible.
The team was terrible, but him himself, he played as well as he can with terrible talent. I think right now the Giants were better than those Lions before. I'm not talking about the Calvin Johnson Lions. I'm talking about post Calvin Johnson, so after 2013. So what I'm saying is,
do you think the Rams? How about this? Do you think the Rams would have traded for Daniel Jones, Matthew Stafford for Daniel Jones?
It wouldn't be straight up. I do not think. I think Matthew Stafford is more valuable than just Daniel Jones. But I think it would have been interesting if we saw Daniel Jones and Sean McVay try to make that work. I think that could have been interesting. Do I think it would have been a smart idea? No. Because, but for the Giants, honestly, it might have made sense. But if Daniel Jones comes out here and balls and just absolutely goes crazy and has another pretty good year, then this is, this doesn't make any sense. Now, the Kyle Shanahan thing potentially for next year, that doesn't make sense to me at all. You have Brock Purdy. Are you going to put him to the bench after he just went, 7-0 or something like that? No, I wouldn't. I would keep him as my starting quarterback.
Well, we'll see how he plays this year.
If Trey Lance was my starter and these rumors came out, I would say go for Kirk Cousins, yeah. But no, I'm not. So Sean McVay, this could be a potential option where Sean McVay, decides, depending on who's out there, we could see a Trey Lance get out there potentially, and maybe Sean McVay is enticed by, Trey Lance's intangibles. He's 6'4", 220. He supposedly has a bunch of potential that apparently we won't get to see.
I'd be surprised if the 49ers traded Lance within their division. Right?
The Lions traded away TJ Hawkinson interdivision or intra-division.
That's a little different. It's not a quarterback.
That's true. But, hey, the highest bidder, I would say, same thing with Dame Lillard. Bring your highest bidder, please. And that's whoever gets him. Not this, I want to go to the Heat only, and his agent coming out and saying that. But, I think it's interesting now. Rams tried to trade a probable Hall of Famer and a Super Bowl winning quarterback who just was dealing with an injury. Your entire team was dealing with an injury, and you're trying to trade him away. To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But, it's the Rams. They're trying to figure out something. Sean McVay, I don't know. My guess is the Rams will be back in the playoffs. I think I have them winning 10 games or something like that. I do not see them going 5-12 again and barely being a worse team than the Arizona Cardinals were with Kyler Murray on that team.
Bring their schedule back up again?
Sure.
It seems to me they should. I had them favored in 5 of the first 9 games.
Right.
I think they have a hard time against San Francisco. They can't really beat them in the regular season, right? They've had no success doing that. I don't think they'll beat the Bengals. The Eagles, I don't think they'd win, right? So that's 3 losses. I think the rest of them they're competitive in the first 9. So maybe they're 6-3 in the first 9. And then in the last part of the season, who's week 13 there? I can't.
Week 13 is the Browns.
The Browns. So they could win those 3 games. The Seahawks, Cardinals, and Browns. They should beat Washington, the Saints, and the Giants. So that's 6 wins, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 wins. 11, 12 wins. They could get to 12 wins.
I think 12 wins might be pushing it, but I'm bringing it down.
Well, who would you have them lose to then to get to just 10 wins?
Well, I think there's some teams that you definitely lose to. You're going to lose both to the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan is, he crushes Kyle Shanahan crushes Sean McVay every single time. Undefeated record. You're going to lose to the Bengals, definitely. You're going to lose to Philadelphia. My guess is you'd lose to the Ravens. I think the Saints game could be interesting.
I don't think the Saints will beat them.
So the only definite losses in my mind are the 49ers twice, so that's 2 losses, the Bengals, the Eagles, and the Cowboys.
That's 5.
Those are definite losses. And the Ravens.
That's 12 and 5.
The Ravens are 11 a definite loss.
11
and 6. Now, some games could be interesting, I think. The Green Bay game, I think, could be interesting. We'll see what Jordan Love brings to the table.
The Dallas game could be interesting.
I have that as a definite loss because I just think that they're probably going to lose that. I think the Saints game could be interesting. So, my mind right now, we're talking about 11 wins. It could be potentially 9. Could be potentially 9. The Browns, I expect them to be bad, but truthfully, what if Deshaun Watson goes back to what he was 3-4 years ago? And he was putting up 4,900 yards and crushing it with D-Hop, except this time he'll be crushing it with Amari Cooper. I think you could potentially see, this could go bad, and I can understand why some people, like the odds makers, are saying, yeah, in the first 9 games, the only team you're favored in is one that's probably going to be without their starting quarterback. But honestly, I think this may be getting a little ridiculous just because they're taking a look at last year, but last year everybody was hurt. So you can't really, put it to this year.
All right, well, we're against Vegas then. Vegas thinks they're going to stink, and we think they're going to be a playoff team.
Generally, that's not good betting against Vegas. They generally know something we don't.
They're probably wrong. I mean, I picked the Colts last year to be a world beater.
15-2.
And they got trounced.
Yeah, no, it was pretty bad. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.